It's that time of the week, people! Final Fantasy XIV Hot Takes 7.2 edition. I asked for your hottest, your spiciest. And we have some takes to react to. And if you have an extremely spicy, boiling hot take concerning this game, leave it in the comment down below, and I may react to it in a future video. Hello everyone, I am Jmulls, and let's kick it off with the first hot take of the video. There were a lot of comments along this line of thinking, but Alpha Outlaw says, range DPS is the smallest pool. I'm in the camp of range DPS and tank being the two jobs of 8.0 if we have two jobs in 8.0 and don't just go to a one-job system. Look, I think there is a lot of logic behind this, because it's been since Shadowbringers that we had a range DPS with Dancer and a new tank, that being Gunbreaker. In Endwalker we had a physical DPS with Reaper and a healer with Sage, and in Dawntrail we had a physical DPS yet again with Viper and a magic range with Pictomancer. It makes a lot of sense. However, while I personally would love another tank as someone who likes to tank in this game, the range DPS is where we get into the this should be obvious but it may not, right? Like, range DPS should be the obvious play because it has been so long since we've had a new one. But I remember the logic that they used for Viper, and why they introduced Viper, which was in the same role as Reaper, melee DPS. The armor type was different. And you see, Scouting only had one, Ninja. So, of course, to try and even things out, they had to add another Scouting job, like they did with Maiming, because Maiming only had one before Reaper came onto the scene with Dragoon. And if you can tell from the tone of my voice, I personally do not agree with the logic that is being used for that. I think people on the whole care way more about the overall role than they do the specific armor type pairing, because like going by that logic, they would have to add another Maiming and another Scouting job because there's only two for each role now. It's not like they wouldn't see play if they did go that route. I'm absolutely certain those jobs would see a lot of play. It's just, does that address what the game needs right now? Personally speaking, I wouldn't even be that upset if we just go to a one job for expansion and they just do something like a range DPS or a tank, and they focus more so on like job changes for everyone else. Because it does feel as if this game is on the precipice of a lot of systemic, massive job changes. And Yoshi P talked before, leading into Dawntrail release, that they're looking more towards 8.0 for a lot of big job changes and stuff like that. Even though I would argue we got a lot of substantial job changes already in Dawntrail, mainly with Black Mage. I think a new job is just easily one of the ways to get people really hyped, and people get really passionate about it. They obviously wanted to align with the specific playstyle they like ordinarily, as well as wanting a new job to appeal to them specifically when it concerns an aesthetic, because maybe the established jobs in the game already don't directly hit the aesthetic they want in the game. It's one of the reasons I really liked Reaper, for instance, even if gameplay-wise it was a bit simple. I wouldn't be surprised if they go to a one-job system, but I feel like after what was 7.0 and 7.1, what this game needs is a bunch of sustained hype. Two jobs is the way to go with that, and I think you can still have a bunch of significant revisions to existing job design alongside introducing new jobs into the formula. Because at least the way it felt to me for the longest time is that when they introduce new jobs, like Pictomancer or Viper, they're like the ideal version of where they're trying to take job design for that expansion, and I think that's a good microcosm for like Dawntrail overall, because Viper and Pictomancer, yeah, Pictomancer has some rather long cast times, but when you're actually playing the thing, and you don't even need to get the max level to feel this out of Pictomancer or even Viper, they feel rather quick and snappy, but also rather simple on the overarching design of the job. And it felt like the changes they made to a bunch of other jobs in Dawntrail tried to take it in that direction. Not as far as, say, Pictomancer or Viper, but like going in that direction. I think I talked about before how I wouldn't be surprised if the two new jobs introduced in 8.0 were like tank and healer. I think I said that. And like thinking about it more, I don't think that's going to be the play they go. I think they talked about before how they don't want to go in expansion without introducing at least a new DPS job, because DPS is so popular. So I don't see them going in expansion where the two new jobs are tank and healer. Feels like the play there is to stagger them. So I think the smart play would be to do a new tank and a ranged DPS. I think that's the smart play. Whether that's what they actually end up doing, though, remains to be seen, because they could go, hey guys, guess what? Yeah, we went into the kitchen. We cooked up a souffle of epic proportions. Prepare yourself. We got another maiming and wait for it, scouting job. Like, they could go in that direction. I don't think that's what they're going to do. However, there is another reality here we have to consider. It would be really funny if the logic they used in not adding an 8.0 range job is that Beastmaster ends up being ranged physical. If that's the case, no one would agree with the logic, but can we just admit that would be really funny to read the internet comments about it? I might be able to get 5 videos off that if that's what they do. And considering that I need content, hey, let's go that route. But let's stick with job design right now for the next hot take. At EWAEP, who says, Viper too boring, we talked about Viper in the last video. Question mark, let's give it more positional attacks. Every attack in Reawaken is a different positional, and every generation is a different positional to its attack. Make us dance, Yoshi P. Make us dance. I've talked about positionals before, but I'm gonna talk about them again. I don't mind them. Yeah, I started this game out with Dragoon. I was thrown into Hellfire. Not as deep as Monk, but there was still some Hellfire present. I don't mind positionals as a concept. However, I find the modern iteration of a positional to be extremely boring, to where the only benefit you get is just additional damage. Because to me, what I look for in job design is mechanical satisfaction. I want the buttons that I press, when I press them correctly, to feel better because I played it correctly. And just having the number be a little bit bigger doesn't do that for me. It's one of the reasons I like jobs, at least back in Endwalker, like Reaper, because the Enshroud window felt different to play. And while the job overall was still too simple for my tastes, I liked that element of it. I think it's possibly also one of the reasons I kind of like tanking nowadays. It's because of the burst windows. Again, job design ain't perfect. There is some homogenization going on, but hitting those bursts, especially with the new animations Dawntrail brought to the table, looks really freaking cool. So for me, when it comes to positionals, I don't find the mechanic itself to be exactly exhilarating or that interesting. It's fine. It adds a little bit of, like, extra brain cell usage to a rotation, right? But it's more a substitute for better job design than actually good job design, in my opinion. It's like, oh, okay, it could be a bit worse, but, like, at least there's this, but I would rather have this. It's like if I really wanted cake, but the only thing they had available was carrot cake. Is it necessarily bad? No. Will it be fun in the moment? Yes. If you give me the option, will I just absolutely house a chocolate cake instead? Absolutely. That's the way I view positionals in Final Fantasy XIV. I don't think they're a substitute for really good and fun job design. That's not saying that in an ideal world they would be removed wholesale. It's just, I don't think you can substitute systemic job design changes this game probably needs with just, we have positionals, poggers. Next up, we have at Tython82, who says, hot takes, Fiend becomes a summoner and gets the Ramu Eggy people have been asking for forever. Cinema. Look, I know we've talked about ad nauseum that the likely job Fiend is going to acquire is probably going to be Summoner or Scholar. I think Arcanist, so that she can be like both for trusts, or she'll pretty much have the gameplay of an Arcanist and she'll just be called Summoner or Scholar, but she can kind of do both. I think it's going to be like that, because I view Fiend to be a long-term character. I think she's going to be added to our main traveling party going into the future. That or they put her on ice for like an expansion like they're seemingly doing with Zero and Golbez, but I digress. I think she's going to be with us for the long haul here. And since she is clearly a reference to the character of Garnet, I will not call her Dagger from FF9, who was like a white mage slash summoner in that game, being a scholar slash summoner in this game makes a lot of sense, especially since for summoner we have been crying, nay decreeing for the longest time, please give us Ramu as an Aggie. I don't don't get what they were thinking when they added, like, Solar Bahamut into the game. Like, the model's fine, right? Don't get me wrong, it looks cool. Sure. But I think most people would have preferred Ramu, Shiva, Leviathan. I think another comment actually talked about. But it's like, I didn't necessarily mind these summoner changes in Endwalker. But to me, it needed, like, an expansion or two of additional things on top of that framework to be really fun and interesting. And Solar Bahamut is a lateral move, not really adding or contributing anything to the flow to make it more interesting for me. I still find Summoner to be extremely boring, and I'll just play 7.2 Black Mage any day of the week over it, in terms of enjoyability. But, if we got a new Titan, Garuda, Ifrit phase that is like Ramu, Leviathan, Shiva, and they had different mechanics, that would be sick. That would be so dang cool. And also, it would work for Sphene, because if you remember the story of FF9, in this big moment of character development for Garnet, the first summon she reacquired was Ramu. So if you introduce a Ramu Aggie as a way to get Sphene online as a summoner, and then we acquire a Ramu Aggie in 8.0 for summoner, that would just work so well in my mind. And it's to the point where I hope to God this isn't actually a hot take. I want this to be the coldest take possible. I want this to be Shiva Cheeks level cold. Frigid. We need to, like, will this into existence like a DBZ Spirit Bomb or something. Next up, I'm gonna get on my soapbox. We have @Prisma_CLR, and I don't know why my mind immediately went to celery there, who says, I loved Zelenia's aesthetics so much, I already love the Knight-esque aesthetics, but her lines and attacks were so good. Cook. See, okay, we can debate until the cows come home when it concerns a new ranged physical job, dual guns. We can debate that until the cows come home. Absolutely, I get it. When it concerns the new tank, I don't know how you make it work because Dark Knight already uses a giant sword, but I would love another Knight-esque job, mainly because I love the aesthetic and I'm really selfish on this particular issue. Is it necessarily the right play for the game on the whole? Probably not. Some other comments were floating around the idea of a summoner kind of job that can also tank, and that's a cool concept, right? However, the whole vibe of the Zelenia fight, magnifique. Love it. I need more of it. The animations, the aesthetic overall, it's great, I want more of it. Look, Scholar and Summoner already use essentially the same freaking weapon, it's just classified as something kinda different, but they're both essentially a freaking book. As someone who has a borderline love affair with giant swords, I don't see the issue with having another giant sword. I don't see it. If the book nerds can have two jobs that use books, but they both come from Arcanist, ignore that. I'm just saying, a job styled around Zelenia could be so dang cool. Or, what I've been screaming from the rooftops about for the longest time, we go back to FF6, we revisit the best character from FF6, Celes, and we give me my Rune Knight. Or we do a swordsman that's kind of like an elemental sword user, where you can like enhance your sword with various elements. No, not like a samurai, something completely different. But like a tank, something like that could be really cool. Is it close necessarily in aesthetic to what we already have? Absolutely. However, counterpoint, it looks cool. Let a man dream. Now we have one final take for the video. We have @Nman222223, who says, my hot take, someone needs to die. I don't care if it's a new or old character, but we need a strong death of someone. Could be a Scion, Fiend, Wook, I really do not care. We have gone too lax with the story. We need some impact, stakes, or even some notable people captured that we can't save right away. I feel like the story is just a guided tour now of all the zones we have explored for the last 10 months. I kind of think they're going to go in that direction for 7.3 because I think what they're going to do for Calyx as a character is that he's going to realize he can't just beat us straight up, so he has to like emotionally manipulate us and then like possibly capture someone, probably Milos or something, and use him as a bargaining chip to try and get the key to interdimensional travel from us. I think that's probably the direction they're gonna go, but yeah, I do agree. I think this game does kind of need to get some teeth back in the regard of characters not necessarily need to die all the time, but the fear of them dying needs to exist. I don't think you do it with Fiend. I think that character needs to stick around, but someone else needs to go. Whether that be Kona, Wu Lamont, calm down people, or someone else. I don't think the route they can go is simply we just kill another villain. Someone near and dear needs to die just to essentially reset the stakes and reset the feel of the story. Because I love 7.2, don't get me wrong, and it's not like characters haven't died, but it doesn't feel like most of the main characters are even remotely on the chopping block. I think that dynamic needs to change. I don't want them to go in the direction of just killing everyone off, but like I said before, the fear of death needs to exist for like most of the characters, because that raises the stakes and like recaptures interest. And I also think sharpens the fangs of the story going forward. I think it's something that this game really needs, and I'm hoping that is the direction they go back to. For me, the threat of something or the emotional investment I have in a story goes way higher and becomes way more potent when we have a taste of the possible ramifications if we fail. And I think it's an extension of showing, not just telling. You can tell me the stakes are high, you can tell me these characters can possibly die, but if I don't actually believe you, it takes something away from the story. You can still write a good story, it's just I think it takes something away from it. And with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember, leave a comment down below with your spiciest, your hottest, your most boiling take. I want you to feel like the man in the arena, like the gladiator, shouting, "Are you not entertained?" One against the whole world. I want your hottest, spiciest takes you can possibly muster, and I may react to them in a future video. Stay safe, have a great day. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And I'll see you all again next time. Bye-bye, everybody, until we meet again!